welcome back. We got the Mustang back in the shop. We got it in the shop because at the last event, noticed that there was some kind of breaking up going on at higher RPMs or wide open throttle or something like that. You can't hear it in the car, but you can hear it from the outside. So I was actually working on course, so I could hear Ashley going through the finish at wide open throttle, and the car sounded like it was breaking up. So not quite sure why it's doing it, but I got a couple theories, so I'm just going to do a couple things and hope that fixes it. So one of the things is it could be spark related. I don't think it is quite spark related, but I am going to change the cap and rotor because it looks like it's original. It looks really clean. I've looked at it, but we'll go ahead and swap it out with the one from the old engine since I still have that one. And that one was an MSD cap and rotor, and I know it's good. The plug wires all look good, so I don't think it's any of that. And then the coil looks good, but I could also swap that out with the one from the other engine if I wanted to. The main thing that I'm wondering that could be an issue is fuel. So the car still has the stock fuel pump in it, and this was a V6, but I think all V6, V8s maybe have the same. I think it's like 88 liters per hour or something like that, fuel pump. So wondering if I'm running out of fuel kind of at that higher wide open throttle kind of area. And then also the filter, the fuel filter, that looks like it hasn't really been changed. I thought that I changed it back when I first got the car, but I don't really remember, and it looks old in there. So gonna change the fuel filter, gonna change the fuel pump. Hopefully that will solve all my issues. So I'm still waiting on the fuel pump. Once it comes in, we'll go over that. For time being, we're gonna get this fuel tank pulled down. So once I get the car jacked up, we'll go down, we'll look at what needs to come off to get that fuel tank actually pulled out of there. All right, so we got the car jacked up in the air. So here's our fuel tank in the back behind the axle. Things to remove. We got the electrical for the fuel pump and the fuel level. Then we got the fuel neck. Got 4 bolts there to come off. And that should then get us. And then we need to pull it out of there, or that comes down with it maybe. Well, that probably comes down with it. And then we got 2 straps. Bolt right there. This one's hinged, so maybe this one's hinged on the front. We'll see. Then we'll be able to drop down the fuel tank and pull out the fuel pump. One thing to note before doing all that, you want to disconnect the negative on the battery and then relieve any pressure that's in the fuel lines. So go take a look at that. All right, so up in the engine bay, you want to make sure that you disconnect the negative from the battery. And then we want to relieve fuel pressure. So I actually have a gauge on there so you can see that there is still 20 psi. Normally, right here, you would have a Schrader, which you could just push in with a rag and relieve the fuel pressure. I have a gauge on there, so I can't easily relieve the fuel pressure. Probably going to just let it go down, so it's only at 20 psi right now. So over time it will start to drop. There's probably somewhere else that I could try to relieve the pressure if I needed, but I think by the time I get around to dropping the fuel tank, this will be down pretty low and not a concern. But you definitely want to make sure that you relieve any pressure that is in the system, because it can be normally up to like 40 psi. You don't want to get bathed in fuel. All right, we got the fuel tank out. Getting the lines off was a little bit more difficult than doing them in the front. So I found this tool in one of the kits. It's a 15/16 to 3/8 release tool. So I was able to use the 15/16 for the small line, which is probably return, and then the larger one for the bigger one, which I assume is probably the supply. Otherwise, not too bad getting it out. So we'll get this this ring popped off. Probably clean this up a little bit first. Alright, so this does have a Walbro pump in it. It's a 516 series one, which I looked it up is 24 gallons per hour, which converts to 90 liters per hour. So this is basically a stock pump, stock replacement pump. So I'm guessing somebody had put it in because the fuel pump was dying or something like that. The one I'm getting it will be a 150 or a 190 liter per hour, so bigger. There'll be a direct replacement for this one. Also, this strainer is looking pretty nasty. The fuel filter is right underneath there. Be nice and easy to get to now. The tank is looking pretty clean though. So, nothing. Don't need to do anything inside the tank. It looks good. It's best to either have an empty tank or, mostly empty. I'm probably about halfway full, so it wasn't too bad to pull down, but a little bit less would have been more ideal, but not too bad. So here's the new fuel filter. We'll pull out the old one, get this one put in. So I got the new pump in. This was from Summit Racing. This is their 190 liter per hour pump, which on it says it's a Walbro. So that's cool. I was trying to buy a Walbro, but you can't find anybody that has them right now. Everybody is sold out of them. So that's kind of cool that the Summit Racing kit is using a Walbro pump. So it's a GSS 242, which I guess should come out to be a 190 liter per hour pump. We'll get that installed into this housing, which that's just going to be as easy as taking this out. We'll replace this tube. We'll replace this hose with a new one that comes in the kit. The wiring will be, I think I'll do a little bit different setup. So on here, it has just terminal pins that are open, where this one has like a connector. So instead of having these pins push into this connector and possibly short together, I want to use this connector that comes with it. So I'll either cut them or figure out something. So we'll get to that point here shortly. Let me get this pump pulled out, and then we'll figure out the best course of action to hook up the wiring to it. All right, we got the new pump installed. We got the hoses on. Just need to figure out the wiring. So it comes with some butt connectors, which don't usually care for butt connectors, but I think that will probably be the best option to do, is to just cut this in half, put a butt connector in there. There's never going to be a time where I need to come back and put on a pump in there with spade connectors in there. And I can't connect directly to this connector just because of how it's set up. So I think the best option is to just go in here, cut it, and put it in the butt connectors. So we'll do that. Alright. Last thing to go on is the filter. I want to make sure I put it in the right orientation. So this looks like it will kind of stick down in there like this. So we want this to go on like so. Alright, everything's back installed, so it's time to install the fuel tank back into the car, which is just the reverse of taking it out. Raise it up, put in the bolts to hold up the straps, put in the filler neck, connect all the lines, and good to go. And then we'll go and test it, make sure everything works, and hopefully that fixes our breakup issue. Alright, time to start it up and make sure there's no leaks. Pump is priming, make sure that we got no leaks coming down. So far so good. I don't think it's filled the fuel filter yet. Maybe it has. I got 10 psi up at the front, so I'll prime it a few more times and then start her up. Alright, that covers installing a fuel pump. It's pretty simple. The hardest part is really just getting the tank out and back up in there. So hopefully that fixes my problem of the braking up at higher speeds. Also put the cap and rotor from the other engine, as I said earlier. So, thank you for watching. See you guys on the next one.